Everyone, welcome to the PTFF Fire podcast. Today, my guest, as you all know, John Spera. He's the owner and founder of Fit to Fight Fire. I've had the pleasure of him being a mentor, a friend, and a brother. Welcome. Thank you, buddy, for coming on.
Yeah, man, this is awesome. You and I have so many conversations that it's nice to finally get one recorded because, between the two of us, similar mindsets, similar beliefs, and we share things and we get off the phone. I'm like, man, I wish I would have wrote that down, or I wish I would have captured that conversation. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Of course. I know you're busy. You got a lot going on, and let's just talk about that, man. Where does John Spera's passion come from? Have you always been a passionate person? Were you instilled to have a really high give a shit factor? Where does that come from? Because you've been dialed in for a long time.
Yeah, man, it goes back to I look back on how did this whole thing come about. And it goes back to when I was a kid, man. I was a smaller kid. I was somebody who I got picked last one time. I got picked last one time. I remember what that felt like. And it was because of my size. It had nothing to do with my speed, my work ethic, all that other stuff. So from that point on, I made a decision. I believe I was probably 8, 9 years old, that I was just going to outwork everybody as a kid, right? I was going to run faster, work harder when everybody else was tired. Even though I was tired, I was going to still dig deep and push myself. And what that did for me early on in my life is it created an identity, something that I attached to. That when I worked hard and I pushed myself when everybody else was giving up, I became the person who got picked first. I became the leader of my soccer team or whatever sport I was playing. My work ethic was something that I was able to identify with as a positive, and it gave me a meaning in life. And it felt good. It felt good to be the kid that was running outside in the rain when I'm 12 years old, going on a long run and things of that nature. It just felt good to be different and to put myself in a position where even as a young kid, I'd want to get to that point where I wanted to quit, and I'd push myself past that because I saw the results of what that looked like. So as I got through my teenage years, played high school sports, got into college, my dad, man, he came to me one day and he's like, "What do you think about being a firefighter?" And dude, that never crossed my mind. I had never thought about it. And at the time, I was doing adventure races, triathlons, marathons in my early 20s, late teens. And I took a look at it, man. I took a look at it and I realized like these guys have to be physically fit. And what I loved about the fire service, because I'll be honest, even as a kid, I wanted to be in the military. And that's one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't do that. And my parents held a lot of weight. Like I really valued their opinion so much, Julian, that I didn't drink alcohol till I was 21 years old.
Hmm.
Like I legitimately didn't want to disappoint my parents. But I remember at like 13, 14 years old, I'm like, man, I want to be a Navy SEAL. I want to do special operations. And saying you want to do something and doing something are two different things. But as a teenager, I was running with a backpack on, right? Like I'm doing these kind of things that I felt like made me a better person and they felt good. So that just continued all the way through my teenage years. I discovered triathlons, adventure races, marathons, things of that nature. And like I said, my dad came to me and he said, "What do you think about being a firefighter?" And I never considered it. And the more I looked at it, I'm like, your fitness as a firefighter could make the difference between life and death for others. And just like the military was a thing, and I tried to do that, my parents were not about it. And I really, like I said, graduated high school at 17, um, came to them, said, "This is what I want to do." They adamantly denied that and said, "No, we don't want you doing that. We want you to stay home." And I listened to them. And that's fine, man. We all make choices in life. But make a long story short, when I looked at the fire service, I saw something that I already was could be put in a position to make the difference between life and death for other people. And that gave my fitness and my training a whole new purpose that it never
Hmm.
had before. And I just moved in that direction pretty quickly. And I was in South Florida at the time, just like you. I went through the Broward Fire Academy. Actually, Rick Stevens was a brother of mine in the fire academy. That's how far back it went. And got my EMT, got my paramedic, and I got hired. I got hired with Boca Raton Fire Rescue, man. And fitness, I surrounded myself with guys at Boca Raton Fire Rescue that were into fitness. And we just continued to grind and work hard and believe that at some point in our careers, our level of fitness will make the difference. So for me, it was just kind of like this progression through life, and God had his hand on the whole thing. I look back and like everything was perfectly timed for me to be where I'm at today. And even the Fit to Fight Fire mission and the movement, it's not me, bro. I'll tell people every chance I get, God has his hand on this, and he wants me to positively impact other people through his word and through this thing called Fit to Fight Fire. So the passion was a progression. It's at a point now today where I try to balance my passion with patience, which is sometimes a challenge, right? Because we all have a strong belief in what we do. We believe that the fire service is a calling. We believe that our fitness is important, our training is important, our mindset is important. So it's a God thing, bro. I can't take any credit for it. Yeah, I do the work on a daily basis, and I do my part. But he's opened all the doors and created all the opportunities for this thing to be what it is today.
Man, there's so much I want to talk about. First of all, man, uh, from me and all of my cohorts, and I believe my cohorts are people who believe in the same mission across the world. We want to thank you, right? And I want to thank you. And I know I speak for everybody else for empowering us to be the best we can be, for pushing the passion, making it cool, making it what it's supposed to be, right? Because I think we're surrounded more by people who are negative, more by people who are insecure than we are by people who are going to give us the attaboy for doing the hard stuff, doing the right thing. And you have portrayed that for years, man. I remember coming on in 2014 as a firefighter and seeing Fit to Fight Fire. And that was almost 10 years ago, right? And now that I've developed a relationship with you and we're actually, like I told you, man, you can count on me whenever. It's an honor. It really is. And I'm so grateful that you laid the blueprint. I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day about the smoke diver program, and we're having some issues. There's individuals that want to do it, and me and him are going back and forth because here we are, guys that want to help, guys that are here, and these candidates are kind of pissing it away. And we get upset because when we were coming up, we had no blueprint. We had nobody to say, hey, dude, drop down. Let me see what your entrance test looks like. Let me see how many push-ups you can get right now, right? In the kitchen. We didn't have that. We had running calls, 10 o'clock at night. Hey, dude, you need to go burn a bottle. And the hey, dude, you need to go burn a bottle was your interior, self-motivation. It wasn't somebody who had gone through the program and is like, hey, let me see what you got. So we're struggling with that. But like we talked about, you got to want it. You know what I mean? You got to want it. And we wanted it. So no matter what the obstacle was, right? We were talking the other day too, the change in air packs. It used to be you had to use the steel air bottles. Now, making it more realistic, why are we going to make someone use an air pack that they don't use in their department? That doesn't make sense. So now you bring in your own air pack that you use that air pack. But the steel bottles and the new bottles, there's a substantial difference across a 180 to 100-hour work week in bunker gear.
Yeah.
But like we talked about, the man on the mission is not going to be veered or disturbed by that subtle difference. If I say, hey, John, this is what we're doing, you're going to say, yes, sir, we're going to do it. Hey, you got to use this? No worries. Or you got to use that? No worries, right? A little nuance like that's not going to stop the driven individual. It may hinder the person who's not there for the right reasons, but the guy that's driven, you tell that guy, hey, we're bear crawling from here to New Mexico. All right, here we go. So, what, how did you get through the times of, or have you always been surrounded by guys that have pushed you, that have empowered you?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. The big thing missing is a lot of people like the idea of something. They like the idea of completing a certain type of program. There's different challenges out there, right? GoRuck has them. You have the smoke diver program. Everyone loves the idea of being able to say, I did that. Like we
Right.
all love that. Every one of us, right? It's the people who have a purpose for doing it that's stronger than all the excuses, like something deep down inside of them that they could tap into. when they don't have the information. Like, you guys didn't have the information, you didn't have the blueprint, but you had a purpose, and whatever that was, whether it was to prove to yourself, to prove to other people, a combination of both. Usually it is, as much as we want to say we don't care what other people think, usually it's a combination of proving it to ourselves and proving it to a naysayer or two, right? That's just human nature. But when that purpose is strong, I mean, it's in your bones, it's running through your veins, it's part of your soul. Like, that purpose is that strong, then you're somebody who's going to work through all the obstacles, adversity, and outside of injury and things like that you don't have control over, and you've experienced that in a previous race, right? Rolling your ankle. Outside of that, your purpose is going to be that thing that you dig deep down into, and when the challenges arise. So for me personally, my purpose has been strong. I feel like I have a responsibility to represent the fire service in a positive way. When I go in the grocery store and I shop with my crew, I want to represent the fire service in a positive way. When I talk to my neighbor on my day off, I want to represent the fire service in a positive way. Like, I have a responsibility, and I believe one of us represents all of us. All
Mm.
people know are firefighters, right? So when you tell somebody you're a firefighter, Julian, you're representing me. And when I tell somebody I'm a firefighter, I'm representing you. And that's that's just the way it is. So I always took it as a very high honor and responsibility to approach the job in a way that um, honors the job and represents all of us in a positive light. And deep down inside, man, I do believe this, and I've seen it in my career. I believe my level of training and fitness will make the difference between life and death for other people. So when you say, have you always been surrounded by great firefighters? No, I've had seasons of my career where I've had people that made fun of what I did, criticized what I did. You work too hard. Nobody moves. Nobody gets hurt, right? All that stuff. And then I've been surrounded by some people that were better than me and inspired me to become more. But I didn't rely on either one of those to get off the recliner and get into the gym and do a workout, or go out in the bay and force a door, because I believe my level of fitness will make the difference between life and death for others. So if people are struggling with that consistency in their life, following through what they say they want to do, right? I mean, if people would just do one thing, just do what you say you're going to do, your life would change. Like,
Mm.
just do what you say you're going to do, your life would change. Do one thing you say you're going to do that you haven't been doing, but you've been saying you're going to do or you want to do, and it'll change your life. But the reason people don't do that is they don't have that belief, that purpose deep down inside of them that gets them past all the things that get in our way. And I talked about this recently. Human nature is to take the path of least resistance. It's the way we are wired, man. We want to seek comfort, we want to seek warmth. It's evolution, and we know that's in us. Like, it. Sometimes you go to do something and you're like, man, and you have to overcome
Mm.
those kind of little challenges that work, that kind of show up in your mind. Whether it's, you just talked about doing 500 Navy SEALs, right? And when you're about to start that, when you're about to start it, there's a lot of things going through your head, right? And now you have to dig deep, man. You have a purpose, your mindset, your why is stronger than those things that are beginning to get in your way. So I think for me, man, it's just, I feel I have a responsibility to represent the fire service in a positive way. And I do believe my training, my fitness, who I am as a man, not just the training and fitness, the books I read, the people I surround myself with, the environment I create for myself, the way I treat my wife, the way I treat my children, are all those things are going to come together in a moment in time on a call, and it will either make the difference between life and death for other people, or improve their quality of life, get whatever it is, right? So I think that's it, man. I think that's been the thing. But in saying that too, man, I have those days too where it's like a grind to get going, where it's like, hey, dude, are you who you say you are? Because right now you're about to take the day off, and it's not because you're sore, and it's not because you did 5 workouts in 2 days, because you didn't do that either. It's because you're just being lazy. So then I have to call myself out, and I have to say,
Right.
hey, are you who you say you are? And when I do that, I'm like, well, no, I'm not being that guy. So let's go do something. Let's go make something happen. So I think it's a combination of those things is what's carried me throughout my career. But knowing that, I'm just as susceptible to the excuses if I don't tap into that purpose, into that why, into that question: are you who you say you are?
So what do you say for the person that says, Well, John, it's just easy for you. It's easy. It's hard. It's hard for me. I just I just can't. You know what I mean? I can't just say what I'm gonna do. I struggle with it. What do you tell that person?
Man, what I tell that person is I want to get down into why are you here? Like why are you a firefighter? Like what's the reason? And if they don't have a really good reason, like if it's about pension and schedule and the benefits and all those things are good, but those aren't enough for you to be the firefighter that you need to be. And if that's all they got going on, I'm like, yeah, man, you're not going to do it. You're right. You're 100% right because you haven't established something that's stronger than the excuses you're telling me now. And it's not easy for me. It is not easy for me. I just have a different way of looking at what I do. I view what I do different than you view what you do. And in an instant, you could change the way you view what you do. It's totally up to you, man. But right now, you're viewing what you do as it's just a job. It's no different than working at Home Depot or somewhere else. To me, it's a calling. Like
Right.
God put me on earth to be in a position to make the difference between life and death for somebody else. If you don't see it that way, I don't know what to tell you, but you can, if you want to, you can. You can make a choice right now to look at how you do this job differently. So I would tell them it's just how they view what they do is off. And if they could just change that, take small steps. Here's the other thing too, Julian. A lot of us who work out consistently and train consistently could easily complain about those people. But I'm going to ask all your listeners right now, are you willing to change your workout at the firehouse? Right? Because you have a plan. We all have a plan when we go in. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to do this. And people are looking at you who aren't at your level and they're like, I can never do that. So are you willing to change your workout to something that's more manageable, more inviting to those people around you? So it goes both ways. We got to be part of it too. We got to be willing to say, hey, look, I'm going to do something that's probably not going to challenge me that much to get this guy to do it with me. And then later on, I'll get something else in. But for right now, it's about him. Because we talk about the brotherhood all day long, right? The brotherhood all day long. Well, part of that is taking those people under our wing that want to and mentoring and coaching them and showing them the way, saying, hey, look, it's not easy for me. I'm just looking at what I do different than you do. That's it.
Yeah, bro. That's so true. And there's a couple things I want to talk about that have recently happened. Talking about the brotherhood and what you do that actually portrays what the brotherhood is. So the other day at work, I was at the station, and firefighters have an opinion about everything, right? And they were talking about this one individual, saying he's out of line, saying he's doing very abnormal things. This individual is different, right? He's got a different set of views. He acts different. He's just different. We're all different, but he's different. But they're portraying him in a light that's not normal, right? And I lost one of my good friends to one of my best friends to suicide. So I try to stay aware and stay in line with my surroundings when I'm with other humans, especially at the fire department. And everything they're saying doesn't sound right. That sounds like something's wrong, right? Something's going on. But they're just running him in the ground, running his name in the ground. This, that, and the third. I can't stand working with him. This, that, and the third. So whatever. The next day, I pick up the phone. I call the guy, and I say, "Hey, man, it's none of my business, but I just want to tell you I'm here for you, and I want to ask, is everything all right?" And he said, "No, man, it's not. I'm having a really tough time right now. My mom was murdered, and for everybody out there, understand that it's your job when you took an oath to not only help the citizens, but help the people you work with. And to be honest, the people we work with are more important than the citizens. That's the bottom line. You're with them more. So your energy towards them should be just as high as it is towards the citizens, right? These are people you're working with day in and day out." And I asked him, I said, "Hey, man, has anybody called you?" And he said, "No, I haven't talked to anybody. You're the first person I told." And I said, "Hey, man, well, I'm sorry, right? I'm here for you, but you have to be able to communicate and work on that because people are ignorant. People assume they don't. They think you're just being a certain way just because, right? So let next time something happens, like you got to talk to somebody, man, and say, hey, I got something going on. I can't be at work. Take the time off. Like this is heavy, And he's like, I know, man. I didn't know what to do. I've never been through this before. And just speaking about the brotherhood, like I'm not best friends with this guy, John. I don't work out with this guy. I wouldn't call him to depend on him. This is all honesty, right? But if he called me and said, "Hey, I need your help," I would be there. If he called me and said, "Hey, I'm struggling. Can we talk?" I would be there, right? And that's our job. You know what I mean? So back to what you were saying about the workout too. It's the same thing. Like when you go into work, we do have a plan, and I've shifted my train of thought. I'm floating a lot, so it's a little more difficult, but still. Now when I go into work, I try every shift to say, "Hey, let's all do a workout." And I don't even say a workout. I just say, let's all go outside and do some type of fitness, right? 10 minutes is what I ask of the guys. Just 10 minutes. And then I'll do my thing. You guys can come back inside. Let's just all go hang out outside in the weight room. I'll pick a couple things and we'll do it. And most of the time it's resistance because the culture down here is not a crew environment workout because there's so much floating. But I'll be honest, man, I haven't tried my best to change that. And that's my fault. Everybody knows I'm fit. Everybody knows I train before shift. Everybody knows I train on shift. There comes a point where you develop yourself, your discipline. Like your discipline right now is undeniable. You know, like you just said, when you're feeling weak, when you're tired, when you're not tired, but your mind's telling you, hey, just take it easy, right? And people say, like, how do you know the difference? I've been training for a very long time.
Well, you do the work, right? You do the work. And when you do the work, you know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And oftentimes, a lot of people they just want the answer. Everyone wants the answer. In today's microwave society, instant gratification, we just want the answer. Like, how do I know? Well, do the work, man. Understand yourself. Learn your strengths, learn your weaknesses, learn the environments where you thrive, the environments where you have to dig a little bit deeper, but you got to do the work. I want to share a quick story based on what you just said. And I think what you did was very important for that brother firefighter. But my first year on the job, I'm sitting at a firehouse kitchen table, brand new. I'm at Boca Raton Fire Rescue, and I'm sitting at the dinner table, and they're talking a lot of trash about a guy from another shift. And looking back on it now, what they were giving him a hard time about wasn't a big deal. It wasn't anything that a mistake that any of us won't or haven't made in our career, but they were just riding him. And looking back now, I saw it a lot of times when firefighters get together and they talk trash about somebody else. It's the way they create community and a sense of belonging. And it's cowardly and it's lazy, but it's what they do. And
Sure.
people want to fit in, man. We work together for 24 hours, 48 hours. But are you willing to like talk trash about somebody just to fit in? Like I'm not. I never was. I never participated in that conversation. And at that point, it was because I was brand new, right? And I didn't want to say anything. But as they continue to go, they continue to talk trash. The senior firefighter is sitting there and he's not saying anything. He's just eating his dinner and he's not participating. And I'm just waiting for him to chime in because he's a funny dude. And I know he's got something really good to say. His name's Aaron Oatley. At this point, he's a battalion chief with Boca Raton Fire Rescue. Phenomenal dude. He was a mentor of mine from day one. And he's not saying anything. And finally, there's a lull in the conversation, and he stops eating and he looks up at them all, and they all look at him, ready for Aaron to say something funny. And all he said was this: "Thank God we're all so perfect." And then he just went back to eating his dinner. And that's the truth, man. Like, no matter what any of us are going through, like, put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Take the time. Yeah, we got people on this job that just don't care. That is just reality, right?
Yeah.
But that's society. And at some point, those people are going to come into the fire service. But I believe the majority of people wake up every morning and they want to do a good job. I don't think they get up in the morning and are like, I just want to suck today. I want to be the worst firefighter ever. So no, man, it's a matter of like, who do you want to be? You want to be a gossiper? Like, is that what you want to be known as? And also know this: the people that are talking trash about that person in front of you, the chances are when you're not around, they're talking trash about you too. Because a gossiper is a gossiper. That's their identity. That's who they choose to be, and that's how they belong and create community. I don't want to be that person. And I'm not saying I've never done it, man. I've had to, reflect on my day at the end of the day and be like, man, I wish I wouldn't have participated in that conversation because I wouldn't have wanted that to happen to me. So, yeah, man, I think it's a part of the fire service that I don't like. but it's reality, and none of us have to participate in that type of stuff. And you did the right thing, right? Like, you recognize there's some red flags there. It doesn't make sense to me because you're more aware. You've went through that. You got pain in your life. You gave your pain purpose by calling that other guy, taking the pain you experience, seeing the red flags, and being like, "Hey, dude, what's up?" And who knows what that did for him? You'll never know the ripple effect that one phone call made. So that's great. I think that's what we all should be doing.
Yeah, it's super easy. It's super easy. I had another conversation this morning with one of my best friends, and we talked about everybody wants to feel good, right? Everybody wants to be complimented. Everybody wants to feel like you just said, like they belong, right? And it's hard to be that outlier that doesn't chime in, that doesn't, you know, go with the crowd. And my message, I hope it's very clear. The right thing is the right thing when it's the hardest thing. Still the right thing, right? And don't ever put a line of gray to the shade of black to white. No, no, no. It's a clear-cut line between right and wrong. And choosing right is usually the hard thing to do. And it's just like I told him, we had this training that happened yesterday, and an individual was struggling, and part of me wanted to lose my mind on the individual because he had a good amount of time on. But in that moment, before I lost my mind, I remembered fatigue makes a coward out of any man, right? And I'm one bad day and being extremely exhausted from panicking like this guy did, right? Panicking and not acting appropriately. We all are. I don't care how tough you are. I don't care how highly trained you are. You're one bad day from completely breaking and not being the person or holding the character that you preach. It's just, we're human, right? We're not indestructible. We're not invincible. We are human beings. We have emotion. And so I took a step back and I said, this is the time that you need to build his confidence back up, because his confidence right now is not where it needs to be. And this is a struggle for him. This is something that he needs to overcome in the next hour, because if he doesn't, it's going to loom over his head, and that's going to be really bad for this person. And so I took a step back. We stopped the evolution. We started from the beginning, and it took some time, right? It took some time, right? The mental blocks that you put in front of yourself. If I can't do this, I can't do this. We work towards it. We work towards it. End of it, we overcame it, right? And just remembering that, and this is for everybody out there, everybody's human, right? Everybody's human. Everybody falters. People do dumb things. But like you said, people don't wake up and say, you know what, today I'm going to just be the worst human being I can possibly be, especially not in this career. You know what I mean? Like, you took even people that say I did it for the pension or the vacation or the pay, you could do a lot of other things that offer great things, right? This is a specific profession that takes more than it gives. That's the bottom line. I'll tell anybody in the fire service, this job takes way more than it gives. I don't care how good the schedule, how good you get paid. It takes things that you can never get back, and that's time, right? Time. You can't get back time. So, yeah, man, it's one of those things. So talking about time, you've got less time ahead of you than you do behind you.
Well,
How does that feel?
it, I'm not sure how long that is, to be honest with you. I do want to circle back to one thing you talked about, that
Yeah.
idea that we want to belong, and that's important, right? Belonging. We all want to feel that tribe type community. But at the same time, I'll tell you this, man. When you have a set of principles in your life, a set of principles, then the decisions that you have to make are made before you have to make them. So when
Mm.
you're at that table, and that conversation's going on, you already know you're not going to participate in that. When you're in a situation where that guy is faltering and you have a set of principles, instead of giving him a hard time and criticizing him, it didn't maybe happen right away for you. That instinct was to maybe do that, but you reeled that in because your principles are, hey, at the end of it all, I need all of us to be great and be good at this and understand this. And that's where you mentored and you coached him. So the way you get to that point where you're not so dependent on people's, approval or criticism, like, no matter how much approval and, people tell you you're great or how criticized you get, stay steady, man.
Mm.
Be so connected to your purpose and who you are, the principles that you live by, no matter how high you get or low you get, in the sense of people telling you you're great or people telling you you suck, because you're going to get both. I get
Mm.
both all the time. I got both in one shift, right? Like I had a shift where I got off the rig for a fire alarm, and it was a reserve rig, so the step was super high. And I know it doesn't take much for a step to be high for me. I'm like 5'7", but I came out of that rig and I laid out on the ground. Like I'm lucky I didn't hurt myself. And there were a bunch of teenagers like standing right there because they had evacuated. It was like a tutoring type facility that had a fire alarm and a strip mall, and all the teenagers that were in there evacuated. And I came bailing out of that rig, dude. It looks like I got launched out of the rig because I missed a step. I landed on the ground, and all it would have taken is one person to have their camera and video that and put that all over social media. And I'm a complete buffoon. Later in that day, we have a training, and our crew does phenomenal, right? Our crew does a phenomenal. Our crew knocks out of the park at the end of the training. We get the chiefs are telling us how well we did. They're giving the firefighters a lot of credit for stepping up and doing certain things. Okay, so here we have the two opposite ends, right? I could have been a social media, viral video of a firefighter who falls out of a rig, and then I also have the praise and approval of my fire department and my chiefs. But I'm the same guy. I'm
Right.
the same person, right? I'm the same person. None of that thing that happened to me. Yeah, I was happy it didn't get videoed, and I'm not going to lie. I did ask them. I'm like, did any of you video that? And they're like, no, we wish we would have. I'm like, thank God. And then, you get that approval, and that's great too. But when you have your principles, your core values, and your purpose, the conversation at the table isn't going to draw you in. Falling off the rig isn't going to make you too low. Being told you're great isn't going to make you too high. And that's the goal, man. Stay steady. Stay
Mm.
steady the best you can. And the only way you could do that is to have confidence in who you are. Do the work day in and day out. Know you're going to make mistakes. Know you're going to fail. Don't look at it as failure. Look at it as an opportunity to learn and keep moving forward. But don't ever rely on people's approval, and don't ever get too low from the critics. It's part of life.
Mm.
The only way not to have either one of those is to do nothing. And that's just
Mm.
not our nature, right? So that would be my comment on what you were talking about when we see these people kind of participating in these conversations and wanting to belong so much. And what I hate to see is when the new firefighters in that environment, and they have, like, let's face it, when you're a new firefighter, you're just trying to fit in. You're just trying to prove
Absolutely.
yourself. So you could easily jump into a conversation like that. And I will tell a new firefighter, I'll say, hey, look, we don't do that. We don't talk trash about each other. If you have a problem with somebody or you want to know what happened on a call, you pick up the phone and you call them or you ask them. You get the story from them, but that's not what we do here. That's not part of our daily method of operation. So that was all I wanted to share on that.
Yeah. No worries, bro. Um. Yeah. It's people need to understand coming in, new firefighters coming in, that this career is the most difficult part of this career is navigating all the different personalities. Right. I think honestly, preparation and doing the job, if you're prepared, is easy. The tough part is dealing with the negativity, dealing with the critique, dealing with the gossip. Right, that's tough. But like you said, if you always have your head in the right position and you understand that, like, we're all human, you know what I mean? Like, you're one recording away from being that idiot that they're talking about, right? And even if you are, like, you need to understand that that's a part of life. Like, we're all losers at one point. Like, dude,
Yeah.
I'm a loser right now,
Yeah.
but just because you lose doesn't mean you're a loser, right? We all lose, right? I think it's just like people say, like, you're not poor, you're broke. Poor is a state of mind, right?
Right.
None of us are poor, right? You might just not have money in the bank. That just means you're broke. I think we're rich in so many things that you got to have the right perspective to see that. And recently, I've been truly struggling with the not the gratification, man, but just wanting more now, right? And understanding that I can't lose track of what's in front of me, because then I'll miss the journey. Like, I'll miss the ride. You know what I mean? Like, the life, and we can't forget that life is not getting to where we want to go. It's every day to get there is what it's worth. You know, we talked about a couple things we want to accomplish, a couple classes, things like that we want to do. There would be no fulfillment in it if we just fast forwarded and graduated or finished or got the title. Like that's I don't want that. That maybe there are people on this earth that want that. I don't want that. I've been on the other side of completing things and realizing, and it's so crazy. We're forgetful creatures, man. Humans forget so easily that once I completed certain things, I missed the struggle. I missed like not like I missed a moment, but I missed being in that position of like struggling every day. You know, throughout the fire academy, my new hire process. You know, training for a certain class. You know, training for my paramedic test, training for my EMT test, like, and then passing and that feeling of like, dude, that hard work paid off. Hard work paid off, and it was so fulfilling because of the work, right? And what I want to ask you is you've got a career of cookies in the cookie jar, and how do you feel knowing that you can always go in that jar and pull it out? I mean, because you got a lot of deposits that you've made over. How long have you been on? 20 years, 20.
Yeah, this year is 21 years. I like what you talk about. How you say you miss the struggle, you miss the part where you're working through a fire academy, and I think that's because I think the goal is to try to get to the point where you embrace the process. You see the process, you see the day in, day out grind as the actual reward. And at the end of that, there's going to be this thing that you accomplish, but it's not necessarily the thing, it's who you became on the
Mm,
way to the thing. It's like we all change, right? We all change through that process. You change through a fire academy, you change through, you know, going through your EMT, your parent, like you change as a person because you have to apply different actions that you normally haven't applied to that everyday life. Like if you're not working towards something, like life's pretty easy, man. And it's not super rewarding either. I'll be honest with you. I've had seasons where it's kind of cruise control and I'm like, man, I need to find something that I'm working towards, because working out and that stuff has just become part of my life. So that's no longer the thing all the time. So I agree, man. You got to get to the point where you embrace the process. Pulling that cookie out of the cookie jar, it's really nice to have to actually do that on a call and to really see the application of that. Like, because you have this idea, like all this hard work I'm doing and all of this grinding and putting myself in a position where I want to quit and I don't quit and I make that deposit and I'm doing that over and over again. I know this is gonna come together at some point in my career, and then to have those calls where you actually have to do that is incredible.
mm.
And it's not that many calls. There's not that many calls in my career. There's probably a dozen to 20 calls where I could really, in over 21 years, where I could say I had to dig deep and really, pull something out, a deposit that I made, who knows, how many times, 1,000 times, I have no idea. And that's where it's really rewarding, is where that all that work really did allow you to continue to move forward, to continue to put another cylinder in your SCBA, your air pack, and to go back inside and do more work, or to pull that person out of a fire, or even on the theater shooting, to be able to operate in chaos with the sympathetic nervous system kicked in and everything. I felt like I was in a tunnel, and looking back and saying, those workouts at Station 8 where we'd come in the morning and we'd work out as a crew, because I had an amazing crew at Station 8. We were all the same. So we would get there before shift and we would do some sort of, work capacity type workout. And we had note cards. And on the note cards, we would ask each other questions. Like somebody was asking me the pediatric dose of epi while I'm doing burpees, and somebody's in the middle of doing wall balls, and or what are the signs of flashover? I'll pull up a picture out of fire engineering. I'll be like, hey, do a size up on this call from a
That's awesome.
magazine. So we did that as a crew, knowing that at some point it was gonna come into play. And that's what I relied on in the theater shooting. It wasn't that I was on 2 SWAT teams as a SWAT medic and I had dozens of, active shooter trainings. It wasn't anything that the department gave me. It was my fitness and my ability to think under stress because of all those times I did that training. So and it works. It works. All the training you talk about, Julian, and all the guests that you have on. I know you just recently had Logan on, and the stuff that you guys are doing. When you push yourself to the point of complete exhaustion, to where you feel like you have nothing left, and you continue to work, is the fire ground. That's
Mm,
what we do. It's the fire ground. When you're in your basement doing burpees, you're not doing burpees. You're fighting for your life. It's you
mm,
trapped in a basement, and it's tapping into something deeper than just doing burpees. It's, when when you're deadlifting, you're not just lifting weight. You're lifting that victim to the windowsill on the second floor, and you're putting them on the ladder. So all of that stuff comes together, man. It's all purposeful. And that's the difference between just exercising and training. When you train, there's purpose in your movement. So it feels good. It's worth it, man. It's worth putting in the work. It's worth, consistently overcoming your excuses. It's worth having your legs feel like this, like they're in an acid bath, because that's what they feel like when you're got that lactic acid just burning, and you continue to do lunges, and you continue to do squats, and you continue to climb stairs, even though your legs are full of acid, because on a high rise fire, that's how you're going to feel. It's not going to feel like you're on a step mill moving your feet like 2 inches back and forth, holding on to the rails. It's not going to feel like that. Like there's no high rise fire that's going to feel like that. So to answer your question, man, it feels good to know that the work you put in will be relied on at some point in your career, and to have those experiences where I've had to rely on it is super rewarding, and it just makes me want to do it more. And that's what keeps you going, is knowing that what you're doing is working.
man, I'm I'm screaming inside. I'm screaming inside. I'm fired up. That really just, I mean, man, I want to scream. Let's go. You know what I mean? Let's go. Let's go do
We
it.
are
Let's
going
go
to
do it.
go when you come here in August. I can't wait, man. We're going to go
I'm
down and do
I'm
the
stoked.
incline. It's my favorite workout, dude. It is it's a good combination of just a suffer fest, but then you're climbing up the side of a mountain. You're basically going to gain 2,000 feet in elevation in 8/10 of a mile.
Wow.
It's legit. And then we'll have a 3 mile um, descent on a nice trail. It's good fellowship. We're going to
Awesome.
suffer together. It's going to be
Cool.
amazing, dude. I'm looking
Awesome.
forward to it.
I
Yeah.
can't wait. So there's a lot of things I want to talk about in that little segment there. The other, or no, last night. Last night I laid down, and before I went to bed, I was thinking to myself, I want people coming in to understand that the fire department is not, it's not just fitness, right? It's not just a workout. And I think the message I put out may get um, misunderstood. You just said it. We put ourselves in a position where we're completely exhausted, and we're able to overcome that feeling and get the job done, complete the task. A buddy of mine, Eric Vidal, task complete. He's been saying that lately, and I love it. I want everybody to understand this. When you're in the academy and it's super hard, and you have this weak moment of they're being hard on me, or this is unrealistic, or this is not, it's not. You need to be very, very, very clear in your understanding that when you get put on a fire scene and there is a very, very difficult task at hand, we will not stop at the 1 bottle. We will not stop at the 2 bottle. We will not stop at the 3 bottle. I literally went so deep, John, last night that I was thinking of the worst building in zone catching fire and it being horrendous. Horrendous. I'm not going to stop until the job is done. There's not going to be, oh, Chief, we need rehab. That's never going to come out of my mouth, ever. I will go until the job is done. And I talked about this with Mikey Covell. It's do or die, right? And that's truly my mindset, do or die. Because if you don't have that mindset, when you get put in a situation where you need to survive, and it's so hard that survival is going to be the hardest thing, that's your only option. And if you train yourself to have that mindset, you have a way better chance of not dying than you do of giving in and quitting, right? And if you quit in a workout, meaning you just stop and you say, I'm done, that is going to bleed into everything in your life. And as a firefighter, it's unacceptable. It is
Yep.
unacceptable to quit. It's okay to take a knee. It's okay to rest. It's okay to hydrate, get your mind right, and you keep pushing forward. I'm going to be honest with you. I stripped my gear. I did a workout, the birthday mile the other day. It was 80 burpees around the track. That was the first lap. I did it coat pants and weight vest. The next lap was a bear crawl around the lap or on the track. The next lap was a lunge, and then the next lap was another 80 burpees around the track. After the lunge, I mean, it looked like a yard sale. I mean, everything came off, and I was very upset at myself. But I didn't stop. I finished the workout, and I said, "You're a better man for knowing that you bit off more than you could chew in these elements, and now you know. So next time we do that, we're going to do it at the same time, and we're going to push farther. Now we got to this part. How far can we go the next time, right? And there will come a time where the birthday mile will be complete, coat, pants, and a weight vest. But understanding that I didn't stop. I didn't just get so mentally upset or physically tired that I just stopped, right? I took my stuff off, realized that I'm dizzy and I want to finish this workout. So let's take off the gear and let's finish the workout. But as far as you said, man, as the training goes, training to complete exhaustion and then pushing, that's realistic. That's what's going to happen on the fire ground. And I want people coming in to understand that you need to be pushed to the point where you want to quit, because that's what's going to happen. And the problem is on a fire scene, when your brother needs you or that victim needs you or your engine company needs you to open up the roof or, whatever the case may be, you need to complete that task and have the mindset it's do or die. That's the only option we have here. We can't fail. We can't let our guys down.
Well, it's that I like what you said. You don't quit, and what you do is you reset, you regroup, you recalibrate, and that's kind of what you did, right? You reset, you reevaluated what you're doing. Like, I'm not going to go into heat exhaustion and eventually heat stroke to finish this workout with gear on, but I'm going to finish the workout. And the reason you could do that is because of all the work you did prior to that, understanding your body. And even though it wasn't exactly what you wanted to do, you finished the workout and now you have something to build on. You have something to move forward. The problem is when you quit, when you consistently quit in workouts and training, you're training yourself to quit. Every time you get to that point where it gets hard, it's going to get easier and easier to quit the next time. And then your identity, as much as you don't think so, I don't care, man. You buy the t-shirt, you got the stickers, you got the hat, you got the cool quotes in your, wherever it is, all this stuff you attach to. But if you're the guy who quit every time things get hard, deep down inside, that's your identity. Even though you're trying to make your identity something else by putting on shirts and hats and stickers, your truth is you're a quitter. And the way you don't become a quitter is just don't quit. I never cared. I was a instructor for 10 academies, with my former fire department. And I probably had 200 recruits, and we were only a 300 person department. So by the time I got back online, I had a lot of human nature interaction. I got to see human nature. I got to see people at their worst. And I never cared if you were the fastest, the strongest. Like, it didn't matter to me. What mattered to me is that you were somebody I could rely on not to quit. I don't care if you slowed down. I don't care if, things looked really difficult on your face. I remember one of the things I would say in the middle of a workout, I'd be like, look, fix your face. It's all over your face. Fix your face. Act like you've been there before. And I said, if you fix your face, everything else is going to follow. But right now you're wearing it all over your face. And they would, I go, smile. Because when you smile, it's really hard for things to suck as bad as it was. Just these little things that we would do. But yeah. I was never looking for somebody to be the best. I was looking for somebody not to quit. So you're spot on, man. It's not about always being the best. Like, I work out with people all the time that are better than me. They're faster than me. They're stronger than me. But I want to work out with those guys because I know they're going to pull a little something more out of me. As motivated and disciplined as I am, like, there's still somebody who could get a little bit more out of me if there's somebody who's moving faster than I am. I love that, right? I don't feel like discouraged when somebody else is pulling away from me on a stairwell. I'm like, man, that is awesome. I am so inspired by that guy because I'm comfortable with who I am, right? I'm comfortable with who I am based on doing the work over the years to be comfortable with who I am. Knowing that there are plenty of guys out there that are better than me physically, stronger than me, faster than me, and that's totally okay. Just because I see them pulling away, am I going to quit? No. I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to try to catch them. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But at the end of it all, man, like you said, quitting's not an option. It's just not an option.
And I think something that I was able to understand early in my career. Shout out to Scott Chappell. He's a man that really made a difference in my life and was a mentor of mine. Still is one of the smartest people I know. The only vegan smoke diver. He'll like that. Um, he designed a drill for our crew that you could not complete. We failed. It was intended to fail. And it was a bunch of guys. That crew I had was the best crew I think I'll ever have in my life. We were all, like you said, on the same page. We were all very similar. All wanted to be challenged, all worked out, all athletically fit, mentally tough. And he he made it to where we could not complete the task. And it wasn't because we didn't want to. We physically could not complete the task. And I want everybody to understand coming in that, growing up, firefighters to me were these superheroes. And I still believe that. John, personally, when I put on my gear, I take such pride in knowing I can do things and go
It's
into.
your armor, man. It's your armor, man. It's like you attach to the same things I do. That warrior spirit, that ability to fight. Right? We're called fire fighters. Fighters is in our title. Like we fight for the lives of other people, and part of fighting is putting on your armor and taking pride in putting on your gear and donning your SCBA and feeling the weight of your SCBA. And like I could carry this. I could carry this weight at a pace that could increase the chances of survival for other people. Like you said, you take pride in it because you're attached. You look at what you do, Julian, in a way that allows you to take yourself to places that a lot of people can't because they don't see the job that way. It's not that
Right.
they're not capable, because we all are. We all are capable of being that firefighter we want showing up to our own home, but you're attaching to things that are deep seated things, that warrior spirit, that fighter in our title, firefighter. So, yeah, man, I just wanted to throw that in there. I didn't want to lose that thought.
No,
So,
no, you're good, man, and it's true. I've always felt that with that, obviously the responsibility is very high, the burden is very heavy, but it's comes to the fact that we're human still. You know what I mean? We're human, and there's not we don't have the ability to overcome everything, right? Just like on medical calls, sometimes we get there and we got there too late. They've done a lifelong process of not paying attention to their health, and now you want EMS to show up and fix it. That's not how life works. You know what I mean? Sometimes we can make a difference, but sometimes we can't. And I want everybody to understand coming in, don't ever let your lack of preparation plus not being able to complete a task ever commingle, because that is a bad feeling. I'd rather be able to say my brother or sister died and I did everything I could mentally, physically, and emotionally to help. I can live with that. I cannot live with not being prepared and failing at something that was never achievable, because you know not everything is going to be, we're not going to be able to say that we completed the task, right? Like, I mean, there comes a point, Chief, we can't, like, we physically can't complete this task, right? And that's what the drill that we were put through was designed to do, was to say, we need another crew. We cannot complete this task. That was the point of the drill.
and that drill also puts you in a position to, because so much of the calls we go on, like how often do they go exactly the way that we want to? I tell new firefighters, your ability to overcome obstacles on a call, whether it's a fire, an EMS call, because they rarely go exactly as you want them to go. Your ability to overcome those obstacles and adapt, right, on the fly, call an audible, is so important. And that's what also that physical training, pushing yourself to exhaustion, being in that drill. There were times in that drill, I'm sure you guys were changing the course of action. You guys were problem solving. You guys got to the point where you've tried every possible way, and you're at the point where this is not physically possible. But through that process, it caused you to think and to process information, to come up with different plans to overcome. And you get to the point where you can't, right? There's things that we physically just can't do. So I think that we talk about the training allowing you to dig deep, overcoming the desire to quit, pushing when you're exhausted mentally, physically, but it also puts you in a position to think and adapt and overcome obstacles and change your plan because you're somebody who's in an environment where you're completely maxed out and you're doing that in your workout. How often in your workout do you kind of change paces and scale things a little bit back or push things throttle up or throttle down, right? Like you get into a workout, you have this idea of what time you're going to do. And now you're like 5 minutes into it. You're like, there's no way I'm going to maintain this pace. So I'm going to throttle back. I'm going to throttle back so I finish. Oh, wait, I misjudged this. I could crush this workout. I'm going to put my foot on the gas. Mm-hmm. And in time, I'm going to change my body position in this certain movement. I'm still going to do a full rep, but I'm just going to adjust a little bit with my gear on. We're doing that in our workouts all the time because we're understanding our body's ability. Same thing on the fire ground. You're going to have to adapt and overcome all the time because nothing goes as planned. Mm-hmm. You know, that hydrant doesn't work. You can't catch that hydrant. You got to catch the other hydrant there. That window you're going to VES has bars on it, and you're going to have to either take the bars off the window or you're going to have to find a different window adjacent to that room. So there's so much that comes from that type of training. And the fact that he had that purpose in mind, he wasn't trying to, you know this, he wasn't trying to show you guys that you're not superheroes, or he wanted to put you in a position to have to think, problem solve, work as a team, all those things that are so important on the job. So yeah, we had a drill like that in the fire academy for the recruits as well.
And he knew that we would go until death. And he knew that our company officer was very well trained and that he was able, and this is a skill, he was able to distinguish the point of return, right? Where I'm not going to kill everybody on this crew. We've done everything in our power. We need to exit.
Yeah.
Right. Like that is a tactical decision that our leaders in this service need to understand, that you can't be negligent with the guys you have, and understand that some guys will go till they die. You have guys like that in our line of profession. I think you and me are both one of them, that will go until we die. And if we don't have an officer with the discipline to say, hey, we need to go, we need to all leave together, like, and we're gonna send a new crew in. Right. That was the purpose of the training. And it's hard to swallow. It really is. And I don't care who you are. There comes a point of no return, and you have to be able to make that decision. Like,
yeah,
you know,
and that's an awareness. That's an awareness. He knows your personalities. That's why it's so important for us to eat dinner together, to not bury ourselves in our phones, to work out together, to train together, is having an awareness of each other that you only get from those things. You only get it around the kitchen table. You only get it in the gym. You only get it in the bay, doing the type of training you guys were doing. And now you know your guys. If you're the company officer, you know your guys. If you're the backseat firefighter, you know the people you work with. I will also say this: when we talk about fitness and what it allows us to do, when we talk about risk in the fire service, the risk-benefit analysis, I will say this: you give me the same fire, same conditions, the risk isn't the same for every firefighter. It's not. The risk is different for somebody who's highly trained, physically fit, has experience, is into the job, than a firefighter that sits in the recliner and does nothing. The risk is different.
Very different.
And when you are somebody who is into the job, right, you're fit, mentally, physically, you're now in position to do more work, because not everybody's like you. And what do we want to do? We want to do work. Like when I don't get a lot of fires out here in Colorado. We don't get structure fires every shift. So when I get one, like, I want to do multiple skills. I want to stretch a line. I want to force a door. Maybe I could throw a ladder. Like, I want to do all these things. And if you're somebody who is known as someone who shows up ready to go, you're going to be, those good officers, those good chiefs are going to put your crew and put you in a position to do more work. So if anything, show up fit, show up prepared so that you could do work. It puts you in a position to do more. One other thing, the most basic reason for us to be physically fit, let's step away from the fire service completely. You're a mother, you're a father, you're a brother, you're a son, you're a daughter. The most basic reason for you to be fit is so that you could protect and provide for your family. Like, that should be enough motivation right there. Like, let's just take the fire service away from it completely. So you could play with your kids at the playground. so you could step in if there's a somebody comes into your home and threatens your family, so you could get up every day and go to work not injured, not sick, mentally fit. Like fitness goes way beyond just the fire service. So, most basic reason is so that you can provide for and protect your family.
Absolutely, man. I have the honor to go up and teach the PTSD suicide lecture. Uh, ISTA's put that in the curriculum for the fire academies across the nation, and I have a really good relationship with the chief at the Florida State Fire College. And with the passing of my friend Emilio, he reached out and he's like, "Hey, would you do it?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And so I go up every quarter, go up for a couple of days and teach, and I get to run the kids through PT. They PT every morning, and at the end of the PT, I give them all the lecture, and I have them repeat after me that I will be fit for life, right? And it goes beyond the fire department. Like you need to be fit for life, fit for being an asset in the community, fit for being an asset for your family, fit for retirement, right? Like the stronger you are, the harder you are to injure. It's that simple, right? The harder you are to get hurt. And I believe people that do get hurt are unbalanced, right? You've lived an unbalanced life, and or you just go too hard, right? In certain areas, and it's one of those things that I believe it's our duty to be the hero, not just when we put the gear on, but all the time, right? Expect you to carry yourself in a different manner, right? Because you are different. I don't care what anybody says. Like I have all these guests come on, and I hate that they're so. First of all, I hate the word humble. I hate that word, and I want everybody to know that. Secondly, no firefighter is just a dude or just a girl. I'm just a guy, right? Like, no, you're not. You have to understand that on this earth, it's full of different humans with different attributes, and you're the one human that is willing to risk everything for a complete stranger. Put yourself in the worst situation to help someone on their worst day. And that is so special. I don't care what anybody says. That's special, right? And we have dulled and nullified how important that is. Oh, you're just a firefighter. Go respond to that call. Like you're more than that, you know?
Yeah, it's a not everybody could do what we do, and even people that are on the job, there are people that are not going to do
Mm.
what you just talked about. Unfortunately, they are within amongst the fire service that are not going to. They're risk averse. Um, there's two types of firefighters. There's firefighters that are looking for reasons to go inside, and there are firefighters looking for reasons to stay outside.
Mm.
And it just comes down to what are you looking for? I'm looking for reasons to go inside. I'm looking for reasons to occupy space. I have $10,000 worth of gear. I have training. I have all these things. Like I need to go inside and occupy space if there's an opportunity to occupy space. That same fire, like we talked about, somebody else will be like, no, we can't go in there. We can't go in there, or you don't want to go in there. Those are two different things. So you're right, man. We do some extraordinary things, and we put ourselves in a position that most people aren't willing to do. I mean, you'll see people that are at high levels in different lines of work that do have jobs that are very high risk type jobs, and they even look at what we do. Like, I can't believe you guys run into a fire. You guys are crazy. And we look at what they do, and like, I can't believe you do that, right? Like,
Right.
we all have these different things that kind of tug at parts of us that allow us to do things that other people can't do. So I agree. What we do is extraordinary. And that's why it's when the public looks at us that way, it's okay. But make sure we're maintaining that standard, we're reaching that standard that they automatically give us.
Mm.
Because when you got out of the academy, when I got out of the academy, we were given an automatic trust and we hadn't done anything. We really hadn't. We completed in a fire academy. We go on our first call and they trust us to be the best. They trust that we're these, high standard individuals because of all those firefighters that came before us that earned that trust. Like we hadn't done anything yet. So as much as they give us that status in the community, it's so important that we stay at that level and in my opinion, raise it. Let's go. And it's not just the calls. It's not just, doing a good job on a structure fire. It's when a kid rings the doorbell at dinner. Oh, dinner time. Oh, they rang the doorbell at our dinner time. That you don't blow that kid off and his parents off, that you take the time to show them the rig, to give them that experience. This might be the first time a kid ever came to a firehouse, and now you're going to tell them, oh, this is a bad time, we're eating dinner. Come on. Like, it's everything. It can't just be one thing. We can't just be fit. We can't just be into
Right.
training.
You can't
We
pick and
can't just,
choose.
it's everything. Everything has to be at that level that the community already holds us to. And that's why they're ringing the doorbell at dinner time, because they know we're firefighters and we're servants.
Right.
So I look at it as an opportunity, man. When I go into work, Julian, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but I'll go into work tomorrow, right? 4th of July. I'm going to work 48 hours. And for that 48 hours, and don't take this the wrong way, but for that 48 hours, my community owns me.
Mm.
There's nothing I won't do to serve my community. I've made that decision before I walk through those doors. So what does that mean? When I have to pick up vomit or change somebody's shirt that has vomit all over it, they have diarrhea on their pants, so that when they get transported, they don't get transported in their own feces and their own vomit, I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I already know that. I know that today. I know that if that happens, I don't have to make that decision in the moment. That's what we do. We're firefighters. We're servants. So when you make a decision on the front end, and I'm not saying I'm a slave, and I'm not saying all those things. What I'm saying is I'm willing to go the distance for my community, because I represent you. You represent me. We represent each other all over the country. And all that person's going to think about is that firefighter treated me like they were my own family, or they're going to be like, hey, that guy was a jerk. And that's representing all of us. So we have a responsibility, man, in all areas of the job. And that's what I love about our job, is it calls us to be good human beings. It
Mm.
calls us to be good people, right? It doesn't call us just to be, a firefighter that shows up to work, gets on a rig, and goes to a call. It's calling you to be a good person. I love that about our profession.
Yeah, it's what you said is true. You can't pick and choose. And I'll be honest with everybody. And I not too long ago was picking and choosing, and I faltered. Right, I made some mistakes where I had to honestly reflect on my life and what my priorities were, and realize why I was in the position that I was in. And it was just that I started putting things ahead of each other. Right, and now my mindset is everything that's in front of me is important, and everything that I'm a part of, I'm 100% in. Because if I'm not 100% in, I'm not a part of it. You can't pick and choose, because it'll bleed. The little things that you don't think are important, they're more important than anything. And now you're picking and chooses, and now things are bleeding where you're losing focus, you're losing the quality, you're losing this, that, and the third. So now 100% in if I'm in, right? If you're in front of me, I'm 100% with this person that's in front of me. And 100% when you're at work, even the little nuances that you don't think are important, they're important. And one thing that I've been brought up is how you do anything is how you do everything, right?
It's
And
so
that's
true, man. You find somebody's laundry in the dryer. You're getting ready to put your laundry in the dryer. It just came out of the wash at the firehouse, and their laundry's in the dryer. What do you do with it? What
right,
I do with it is I fold it like it's the Gap. It looks like it's sitting on the table in the Gap. When they see their laundry, they're like, "Whoa, this is amazing! Thank you." Or do I take it and just throw it in a ball and just, hey, I'm not your maid. And maybe it is the laziest guy in the firehouse that does that every time. I don't care. Every time, my principles are the same. It doesn't
right,
matter who the person is. I'm going to get that laundry out. I'm going to fold the shit out of it. And they're going to look at that laundry and be like, that's the best laundry I ever saw. Same thing with the bathroom, man. I'm going to get the base of the toilet. I'm going to clean around it like it's my house. I'm not
right,
just going to put the blue stuff in there and be like, oh, we're good, because I'm going to be on a call in another 5 minutes from there, and the same person that did that is now expected to perform at a high level. How do you separate the two? You
right.
can't.
You
How
can't.
you do everything, how you do anything is how you do everything is 100% spot on.
Well, bro, longest episode to date, 69 minutes. John, I'm going to have you on again, obviously, man. There's so much that we didn't talk about and so much to talk about. But today, thank God for you. Thank God for you giving me this time, and for us being able to connect and just be honest and genuine. I think the fire service is missing that. We have a lot of people playing certain roles and certain characters. when the only character you're supposed to be is yourself, right?
Yeah.
You're individually you, and you need to be that best person, right? And if you're not the best, we'll be better today.
100%, brother. And I want to say thank you. And I want to go back to what you said. You talked about how when you got in the fire service, Fit to Fight Fire was out there. And hopefully that was the purpose of Fit to Fight Fire, was to, be a place where firefighters could go. And if they already are on the right track, it just confirms what they're doing. It just strengthens what they're already doing. If they're not, maybe they read something or hear something that kind of like flips the switch. But realize this, everything that's on Fit to Fight Fire are conversations I'm having with myself. So when I tell you, hey, I had that day where I had to ask myself, are you who you think you are? If you think what I say is offensive, you should hear how I talk to myself, because everything that's on there is directed at me as much as it's directed at the fire service. And
Right.
here's the cool thing. You saw Fit to Fight Fire in 2014. Here we are today talking. I look out into the world and I see what you're doing. I see the work you're doing, and it inspires me. And that's that whole concept of iron sharpens iron. And we use it all the time, but it truly does. You have no idea the impact you're making when you show people the way. And if you're doing the job right, you do not have to have position or rank to be a leader. If you're doing the job right, you're leading, and you're leading somebody. There's somebody who's watching you, and you don't even realize it. You don't think they are, but they are. So always know that everything you're doing is probably inspiring somebody else or not. Just think about it that way. So I appreciate the opportunity to be on here today. I'm excited for what you're doing. You're making a huge impact on other people's lives, and you're taking what God gave you and you're using it to inspire and help others. So,
Yeah, absolutely, bro. I'm never the message, just a messenger, just like you tell me, man. We're just
100%.
we're just delivering the message. So
That's it, brother. That's it.
thank you, bro.
All right, man. Have a good one.